My father called me a failure at a table for 12. March 14th, 2024. Marble tabletop, low lighting, the kind of restaurant where the waiter recites the menu like poetry. My parents had insisted on celebrating their 40th anniversary somewhere elegant. By dessert, the bill sat between the candles like a small landmine. $8,247.68. Dad looked at me. Well, since you're doing so well these days, the sarcasm landed heavy. Maybe you'd like to contribute. Oh, wait, I forgot. You've never been good with money. My brother smirked into his wine. I felt my throat tighten, the way it had at every holiday for 32 years. The weight of the salad fork in my hand. The aunt across from me suddenly fascinated by her napkin. I reached into my bag and placed a black Amex on the leather billfold. Account ending in 7392. They'd never seen it before. Mom's face went white. I signed the receipt, added 20%, and walked out. They never asked where the card came from. But the bank did. I need you to understand the pattern, because the bill wasn't the beginning. When I was 8, my parents told relatives I was hard to manage. When I graduated summa cum laude at 22, they mentioned it once, then changed the subject to my brother's new gym membership. When I made senior analyst at 27, pulling in $9,200 net every 2 weeks, I learned to say, "Work's fine," and nothing more. My brother, let's call him Josh, was the easy one. Warm, charming, always figuring things out. He'd been evicted 3 times in 5 years. The January 19th, 2024 notice was still on my phone because he'd asked me to just look at the lease clause and then never paid me back the security deposit I'd spotted him in 2022. This is what's called scapegoating. When a family consistently blames one member for problems while idealizing another, often to avoid addressing systemic dysfunction. I was the problem. Josh was the potential. Meanwhile, my parents' mortgage statement, which I saw when Mom asked me to help with some paperwork last December, showed $4,788.50 overdue, 90 days late. They'd refinanced twice. Dad's consulting business had folded in 2021. They were drowning. But at that anniversary dinner, in front of aunts and uncles and college friends, I was the one who never learned responsibility. I used to argue, show them my performance reviews, my investment accounts, the small condo I'd bought at 29. It never mattered. They needed me to be small so Josh's chaos looked like growing pains and their own mistakes looked like bad luck. So I got smaller. I stopped mentioning promotions. I dressed down at family events. I made myself the shape they needed. Until the night I paid an $8,000 bill with a card tied to money they didn't know I had. Money they thought should have been Josh's. The card was connected to Trust TRS 2019-4409, established June 1998 by my mother's father. I was 6 when he set it up. I barely remember him. He died when I was 11, but I remember his workshop smelled like sawdust and lemon oil, and he never asked me why I was quiet at family dinners. He just let me sit on the stool and hand him screws. The trust was simple. It named me as sole beneficiary. It would vest in full when I turned 30. My parents were never trustees. The executor was a law firm in Delaware, people I'd never met. On November 3rd, 2023, 2 months after my 30th birthday, I received a letter on cream linen paper. Dear beneficiary, pursuant to the terms of Trust TRS 2019-4409, the principal and accrued growth now vest in your name. Total value, $487,000. Please contact our office to arrange disbursement and account setup. I read it 4 times in my car. My hands shook. The Q4 2023 bank statement showed the transfer, $487,000, deposited December 1st. The black Amex arrived a week later. There was a scanned note in the archived trust file. Grandfather's handwriting, spidery and sure. For the one who'll need a foundation when the noise gets too loud. He knew. I didn't tell my parents. Not because I wanted to hide it at first, but because every time I imagined the conversation, I saw my mother's face rearranging the narrative. I saw Josh's hurt, performative confusion. I saw Dad's fury that his father-in-law had played favorites. It wasn't favoritism. It was a lifeboat for the scapegoat. And my mother had been trying to sink it. I found it by accident. March 15th, the morning after the dinner, I was running a routine security audit on my email, something I do quarterly, a habit from my compliance training at work. I scrolled through account settings, two-factor logs, connected apps. Then I saw the forwarding rule, created November 8th, 2023, at 9:47 p.m. All emails from the domain trustservices.wilmington.com were being auto-forwarded to an address I recognized immediately, Josh's Gmail. My stomach dropped. I opened my trash folder, searched trust. There it was, the original vesting notification from November 3rd, forwarded to Josh at 9:48 p.m. on November 8th, 5 days after I'd received it. I hadn't set that rule. I'd been at a work conference that week. My laptop had been at home. My mother has my apartment key for emergencies. I kept digging. Found Josh's reply November 22nd, 2023 to someone at the trust firm. This doesn't seem right. Our grandfather intended his estate to support the whole family. Can we contest distribution under undue influence or incapacity? The attorney's response, November 23rd. Mr. Redacted. The trust instrument is ironclad. Your grandfather was of sound mind and worked with independent counsel. The beneficiary designation is explicit and unambiguous. There are no grounds for contest. This matter is closed. That was 2 days before Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving dinner, Josh had pulled me aside, voice shaking, and accused me of manipulating Grandpa and stealing what should have been split fairly. I'd had no idea what he was talking about. I thought he was having some kind of breakdown. Now I knew, Mom had told him. She'd given him access to my private financial information and then watched him detonate at me while she served sweet potatoes. I took a screenshot and called a lawyer. I'd spent 32 years trying to make them see me. I was done. On March 15th, at 2:18 p.m., I submitted an intake request to the trust attorney listed on my vesting letter, Case FM 2024-1183. Subject line, Beneficiary Privacy Breach and Unauthorized Access Concerns. I didn't want money from my parents. I didn't want an apology. I wanted a wall they couldn't climb. I made a list of exhibits. Exhibit A, email forwarding rule metadata, screenshot, account access logs. Exhibit B, brothers contest inquiry and attorney's rejection. Exhibit C, Thanksgiving text thread, Josh. You've always been a selfish liar. Exhibit D, building key access log showing Mom entered my apartment November 7th, 2023, at 8:32 p.m. when I was in Chicago. I booked a 10 a.m. appointment with my bank on March 16th to formally separate any accounts that still had parental authorization from my college years. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I made a list titled Boundaries I Will Enforce. Not request, enforce. Number 1, no financial information shared. Number 2, no unannounced visits. Number 3, no intermediaries, Josh. Number 4, communication in writing only. It felt like building a spine one vertebra at a time. I kept thinking about the dinner. The moment Dad's voice cut across the table, Dad, you've never contributed to this family. Me, I paid for Mom's roof repair last June, $4,000. Mom, that was a loan, sweetheart, not a contribution. Me, you told me not to expect it back. Dad, see? Always keeping score. That's your problem. Josh, laughing. Classic. I'd sat there silent, holding a fork worth more than my brother's monthly rent. Not anymore. The attorney called me back in 40 minutes. The attorney's office was all glass and oak, 16th floor, overlooking the river. Her name was Claire Mendez. She'd reviewed my exhibits before I arrived. She didn't waste time. Attorney Mendez. This is unfortunately common. You're listed as the scapegoat in a family system that needs you to fail, so others' dysfunction stays hidden. Your mother's access to your email is both a privacy violation and, depending on her intent, potentially tortious interference. Me, I don't want to sue. I want a lock. Attorney Mendez. Understood. We'll execute a formal beneficiary privacy election. It creates a legal record that you've restricted all trust information to your sole access. Any future breach gives you statutory remedies. I'll also recommend a cease contact letter if they continue attempting access. Micah, what if they show up at the bank? Attorney Mendez. You'll close any accounts with residual parental authorization and open new ones with biometric and PIN security. The bank will flag their IDs. If they try to add themselves, you'll get an alert and they'll be denied. The system does the boundary enforcement for you. Me. Long breath. That's what I want. Attorney Mendez. Then let's make it official. At 2:47 p.m. on March 16th, I signed the beneficiary designation and privacy election form. My hand was steady. The next morning, I met with my bank. We closed the old savings account I'd opened at 19, the one that still had Mom's name on the signature card as a custodial emergency contact. We opened a new primary account, trust-funded with two-factor biometric authentication. The banker walked me through the security settings like she was teaching me to build a moat. On March 18th, at 10:22 a.m., I received an email alert. Account access attempt blocked. Inquiry A610847. 2 individuals attempted to add authorization to account ending in 7392. Request denied per account holder's security election. No further action required. They'd tried. The same day the bank separation went through, the system had said no for me. I sat in my car in the parking garage and felt something I hadn't felt in years. The quiet of a door I didn't have to hold shut with my own hands. My phone started ringing an hour later. 22 missed calls between 6:47 and 9:14 p.m. on March 18th. I listened to one voicemail, my mother's voice shaking. How dare you lock us out? After everything we've done for you. Your father is devastated. You are destroying this family over money. Call me back right now. Josh texted, You really are selfish. Mom's in tears. Was it worth it? I didn't reply. Not to any of them. There's a concept in therapy, Jade. Don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. Boundaries aren't negotiations. I wrote one email. Sent it March 19th at 6:15 a.m. I have formalized financial and privacy boundaries with the assistance of legal and institutional support. I will not be discussing them. Future contact should be written, respectful, and infrequent. Unannounced visits will not be answered. I wish you well. Then I blocked their numbers, blocked their emails, removed them from social media. The silence felt like the air after a thunderstorm, clean and strange and mine. I didn't cry until Easter. Easter morning, I woke up at 8:30 and made coffee in silence. No frantic texts about what dish to bring. No performative cheerfulness over a table full of people who needed me to lose. Just my kitchen, the morning light slanting across the counter, and a mug I didn't have to share. I'd marked my calendar weeks earlier. Easter, just me. The Trust's Q2 2024 statement had arrived the day before. At the bottom, a new line. Contact preferences, locked. Beneficiary authorization required for all inquiries. It was done. The institution had closed the loop. I made scrambled eggs, good ones, with butter and chives. I sat at my small table and ate slowly, tasting each bite. No one was measuring my worth by my silence or my usefulness. There was a photo on my phone from that morning. 1 plate, 1 fork, steam rising from the coffee. The light was gold. It wasn't triumphant. It wasn't even happy yet. But it was mine, and no one could take it back.